What's going on, YouTube? Thought I would jump on here for a couple minutes and chat about what's happening with Tommy Robinson, man. It is a serious travesty what is happening to him. For those, most people, unless you've been living under a rock, you kind of know what's going on with him. And I don't have a ton tonight. I was just going to maybe just jump on here and see what's up and see how many people come in. But for the playback video, I'll jump right in. I want to just be talking about the case with what's going on with Tommy Robinson and how absolutely insane it is. The case is against him. And for anybody who's glad that this man is going away, you're a piece of garbage. You're a human piece of garbage if you think justice has been served on Tommy Robinson. That man has done absolutely zero, zilch, zip, nada, nothing to deserve what is happening to him. And it is a scary state of the world affairs. And when it comes to, journalism, and when it comes to a differing point of view on things, and for standing up for, conservative type values and just calling out the truth for what it is. It is a sorry state of affairs. The UK is a shithole. Pardon my French. I am going to try not to swear because YouTube apparently doesn't like bad words. They are just a poop factory. The UK is a poop factory. Just an open sewage line of filth. The government there. It's sad and sickening what's happening over there. For them to justify their actions with Tommy is just it's pretty mind blowing. So anyway, so if you guys don't know, Tommy Robinson back in May of last year got arrested. And I'm not an absolute authority on all of this case perfectly, like many people are, but I know enough about it to be dangerous. In May of last year, he was reporting on a case of this pedophile rape gang of immigrant pedophile rape gang over there, which just happened to be they were immigrants and of the Middle Eastern persuasion, so on and so forth. And I guess it happens over there way more than you even realize, than people talk about. There's hundreds of cases right now that are more or less secret cases of rapes and the pedophile rings that have been arrested. And they have, in the UK, they have crazy restrictions on reporting. So you can't, like here, and maybe in some ways it could be, there could be some benefit to that. Like here, you're guilty before anybody even knows. What's up, Dangerous Freedom? So glad to have you in here. And I 100% agree with that comment. Absolutely. So you can't report on certain details of a case because you could influence the case. So they have what they call reporting in restrictions, and okay, maybe to some level we could actually use some of that here in our own our own media and coverage journalism, because a lot of times people are found guilty like before they're even guilty. Like for Judge Kavanaugh, for instance, everyone had smeared him out to be completely this, gang raper himself, which it turned out to be completely false. But he was, people we try to try people in the media all the time here. But having said that, so there was reporting restrictions on this case. So what Tommy said was, "How do you feel about your verdict?" He was standing outside the courthouse when these 12 guys got convicted of being pedophile rapists. He asked them, "How do you feel about your verdict?" He did not share any information that had not already been reported by the BBC and or AKA was also in the public domain. So all the information he said on his live stream was already in the public domain. It was not, he said nothing to influence the case, to influence the verdict, to influence any decision. He did nothing of the sort. He has also been misquoted that he was calling people to action against these pedophiles, and he's calling for harassment of them. He never once said that. That's been a twisted lie, and he called for the media to cover some of this stuff after on his case and what happened, but he never called for any kind of harassment against the people. But the media, if you Google it, you'll see and they always frame it as him being this far right racist, which he's not. At any rate, he asked, "How do you feel about your verdict?" And he was streaming live, and he was arrested for contempt of court, for breaching or breaking the reporting restrictions. And so they arrest him right on the spot, and they throw him in jail for 3 months, something like that, 10 weeks, 3 months, something right around that time, from May to August. He gets released in August because of all the errors in his conviction, and he got a new trial date. We'll get to that, what has recently transpired with that here just a week or so ago. In the meantime, the 12 pedophiles, scum of the earth, I don't know the strongest words I could use on these guys. These convicted pedophile rapists who were convicted of it, got a 2-year bail before their sentencing. They get convicted of this crime, then they get a 2-year bail. So they get to go out into the public for 2 years without any harassment, without any, scrutiny, without any media coverage. One of the guys goes and works at a chicken shop or one of the food shops there where children come in and out of. He's exposed and around children. One of the guys convicted of this jumped out and went back to Pakistan and just absconded and went out to Pakistan. So he'll never be back. And so he won't face his conviction or won't be sentenced. And all of them skipped out, and all of them also got public money for their defense on their appeals. They got public money raised for them. Meanwhile, Tommy, who was thrown in jail for 3 months for simply asking one question of how do you feel about your verdict, he has to spend $115,000, 115,000 pounds. So I don't know exactly what that equates to dollars. I think pounds are maybe worth more than dollars, so maybe more than 115. But we'll just, for argument's sake, we'll say 115,000 bucks to defend himself against these contempt of court charges. Because here's the thing: when Tommy was in jail for those 3 months, he came dangerously close to dying several times. He had the prison people coming by his cell, his 10 by 10 solitary confinement. He was, by the way, he wasn't just in jail. He was in solitary confinement by him, making them put him in solitary confinement, because anywhere else he would have been murdered. He would have been murdered had he been in general population, because there was all kinds of death warrants basically out on him from all the scumbag prisoners there, which is a high percentage. I want to say 80 or 90% were Muslim prisoners from rape and from stabbings and from acid attacks that were in these prisons. So all of the Muslims hate him because he speaks a lot of truth about the insanities of Islam over in the UK. And he speaks truth about how crazy some of these situations have been. So He is almost killed many different times, or beat up, gets in several fights when he's there. He's put in solitary confinement. People are coming through and throwing piss through the window at him, throwing shit through the window at him. The cooks are coming through and say, hey, how'd you like your food today, Tommy? Did you like your food? He couldn't eat the food because it was being poisoned because they were trying to kill him. And so he was eating a cracker or two a day and a little bit of tuna. He lost 40 pounds when he was in there. And the guy's already in shape. I mean, it's not like he had 40 pounds to lose. I could have 40 pounds to lose and it would be good for me, right? He didn't have 40 pounds to lose. He came out gaunt, sunken, malnutritioned. And it was just a complete and total shit show. He was sentenced for 13 months. A year and a month for contempt of court. Now, if you don't know the history here, he's been arrested before over other stupid trumped up charges that were just ridiculous. And they have put him in prison many times because the UK government over there does not like him out there speaking the truth about, did I say the Islam government? It's pretty much the UK government, more or less the same difference now. But the UK government doesn't like him because he speaks out so much on the travesties and the terrible realities of the migrant crisis in the UK and the immigrants, the Muslim immigrants, and what they're doing over there. UK has, I believe, the highest attacks of knife attacks in the world. I believe they're one of the top percentage of knife attacks in the world. And they don't obviously have guns, so now they use knives and cars. But knives and also acid attacks. I believe acid attacks, they rank in the top 5 or 10 worst places in the world for acid attacks. They don't ever, when they're talking about these knife attacks and these acid attacks, they very rarely will ever talk about who's committing them. Because the high percentage of these knife attacks, I want to say it's up in the 80% percentile range, is done by Muslim people attacking others. So now they're banning knives in the UK. They're trying to ban knives, and you can't find a sharp knife. You got to have blunt knives and so on and so forth. It's freaking insane. It's so freaking insane. I'm so happy that we, broke off from the the UK back in the 1776, whenever it was. Oh God, that is such a crap hole over there. Their government, their far left government, politically correct government over there is this globalistly ran agenda over there is ruining the UK. But here's the thing that you should be aware of, people. Here's the thing that you should wake up and smell the flipping coffee on. You should smell the beans on this one. It's if we don't make a stand against this, if we don't raise our voices, it's coming to America to this extent. The travesty of justice on Tommy Robinson is going to come to America, right? It is already creeping in. We already see it, right? We already see it creeping in with these bills in Congress for, quote unquote hate speech. And you see it right now with the far progressive leftists, with censorship and with a thought, and with, policing of thought and policing of speech and policing of, and the pushing down of the realities of the dangers of unmitigated immigration into our country too. So you can go ahead and call me a bigot, or you can go ahead and call me whatever it is you want to call me. The facts are on my side. The facts are on my side on this. Reality is on my side. So you go ahead, anybody who wants to live in a false reality and wants to live in your virtue signaling world of peaches and roses and ice cream, you go right the flip ahead and you live in your little world. But if we don't wake up and if we don't take a stand against some of these things, bad things are in our future. Bad struggles are in our future. But anyways, getting back to Tommy here. All the info, like I mentioned, was in the public domain. So he went to prison. He was in prison, lost a bunch of weight. Finally, he gets a lot of people, on his side and raising money for him and bringing enough attention to the situation, worldwide, internationally, that he gets released. And when he gets released, he builds his case. He's going to go back to be sentenced. A couple weeks ago, he went back in to have to be retried. under this retrying, they were going to retry the case, and he was very confident. Avi Yemeni talked many times about it. The dude from Rebel Media, I forget his name, he's covered a lot of it. Everyone was so confident Tommy was going to get off because the charges were so ridiculous. Blatant lies, provable lies of what he was being charged with that he didn't commit. He didn't commit any of it. There was provable lies that this was all BS. All of it was BS. So they felt very, very confident that he was going to be, justified in this and was going to be, win the case and have the charges dropped or what have you. Well, that didn't happen. Something I believe with the Magna Carta Act, where you are legally required in a case like this to be tried by a jury of your peers. He wasn't tried by a jury of his peers. He was tried by two appointed judges by a government that hates Tommy Robinson and has been trying to kill him for years and wants to see him die. They have effectively, and I got mocked by some douche licker on Twitter, that basically laughed at me when I said, this is effectively a death sentence. If he gets sentenced and goes back for 18 months, he got a sentence of 18 months, almost 2 years for alleged contempt of court, over something he didn't break any rules. He didn't break any laws. None. Zero, zip, zilch, none. He did not break any laws or rules. And it's provable by the live stream video that he had. Anyways, he's getting sentenced to 18 months in prison for this offense. And he is going to be in a hardcore prison with a whole bunch of Muslim people who hate him and want to see him dead because he speaks the truth about the insanities of what's going on in the UK and in these Islamist gangs, and with the effects of this mass Islamic immigration into the UK. He speaks the truth about it, and they hate him. And so they will kill him. They'll get there. And that's why the government knows it. And that's why they've done it. So, I touched on it a little bit here, like the 16 convicted, they got 2-year bail. They I touched on that. They're walking, they're free. They haven't even been sentenced yet. And because they've been getting appeals that have been paid for by state and legal aid. There was another pedophile case that happened in Rochester or something like that, where 3 men were convicted, and of a pedophile case of a pedophile rape gang. They were convicted, and they got given $1 million by legal aid, $1 million by the state to fight their deportation because they were sentenced to deportation. They were sentenced to deportation. They rape 3 girls or something like that, and their verdict, or their judgment is they just get to be deported. Whatever happened to hanging somebody up from their testicles, right? For doing that, cutting their junk off. I mean, it just seems like that's not too much to ask for a case like that, for that type of thing. It's absolutely freaking insanity. And so, and I'll get to some of your comments here in a minute. So yeah, they get charged $1 million. Or they get given $1 million on their legal aid, and these scumsucks, man, in the UK government. This Sadiq Khan, who I believe is Muslim too. It's so transparent what they're doing here, what they're trying to hide. They were supposed to make a website that had all of the cases that were being tried in the UK for reporting restrictions. So you would have one spot to go as a reporter, as a journalist, one website to go to that would list out every single case, right? That would give you the reporting restriction on it. That was talked about being created. They were supposed to create that for the press there, and so on. It never was created. And there's a lot of speculation of why that was never created. Largely due to the fact that they don't want to put any kind of they don't want to put any kind of a spotlight on how many cases of these rape cases and these pedophile gangs that have been arrested and that are being tried, they don't want to put a spotlight on how many of those are because it would wake too many people up. So they keep many of these cases secret. So you don't even know they're happening. So I find that just absolutely ridiculous. But it's, Tommy reached out to the Trump administration, which I feel like is a big, huge fail. I know he's got a lot on his plate, and I understand that. But it seems like this is something worth standing with Tommy on. And, he was asking for asylum. We're giving asylum to people who are being oppressed, quote unquote, by their governments that they live, in these foreign countries. Yet here, effectively, someone has been given a death sentence and they are completely innocent. And we can't find the news source and the news power and enough create enough trending news on this to get enough eyes on it to get him here. God, I wish he could get over here and just flip the bird to the UK and move over here. We need more. We need guys like Tommy Robinson, man. Here, he is. It's just such a travesty. My head, my mind, my heart's heavy about this because he gets sentenced tomorrow. We're gonna find out tomorrow what his sentencing is. But and he will. His appeal got denied because there was a certain appeal he was looking for. It got denied. His appeals get denied, but pedophiles don't. Pedophiles get to walk free for 2 years over there. Pedophile pieces of crap, poop factory pedophiles get to walk free. And Tommy Robinson, for not breaking any rules at all, gets railroaded and absolutely in a complete and disgusting, total, shit show of justice way. He gets hung out to dry. It's a sad state of affairs, man. It's a sad state of affairs. It's crazy. I'll read a couple of your chats. We only got a couple people in here right now. That's fine. I didn't, again, put any warning up I was going to do this. Didn't know I was going to do this. It says Islam doesn't belong in the Western culture. Oh, man. Yeah, no, radical Islam does not at all in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't. It's not compatible. Radical Islam, Sharia law, it is not compatible with Western values and Western culture. It just isn't. And that's not my fault for pointing that out. I'm not a bigot or a racist for pointing that out. That is just a fact, right? Killing gays and throwing people off buildings and beating your wife and, all these other things that are completely okay in Sharia law. It doesn't line up with being, what's okay here in the West. It just doesn't. Maybe we should give them more goats so they can quit violating our women and children. Yeah, maybe that's not a bad idea. And I also want to say, I don't know. I know not all Muslims are, hardcore Sharia law Islamists, but they are. There is no middle ground when you are at all kind of a radical when it comes to Islam. You are all in, and there is. It's just messed up. It's just so messed up. And the same goes for like the Westboro Baptist, right? The same kind of extremist ideology in Christianity, but they are the weird little sect, right? Christianity had a Reformation, right? Yeah, they have some pretty messed up things that they did back in their history. We did in our history as being Christians. I agree, right? With the Inquisition and so on and so forth. There were some screwed up things that happened, but there was a Reformation. And, say what you will about Christians today. Can they be judgmental a-holes at times? Absolutely. They're not calling for the death and the, mutilation of gay people. And they're not calling for completely, crazy ass, misogynistic type stuff. And I hate that word because it's so over flipping used. But true kind of, hatred of women. We're not calling for that. That's not what we do anymore. There's been a Reformation. So don't compare the two, please. And just not compare the two because they're not comparable. And here's the other thing I used to always get uncomfortable about when people would say the exceptionalism of America. And I think we've done some exceptionally shitty things. I think we've done some exceptionally bad things in our history. But here's where I will say we are definitely, not all cultures are equal. We can't equate all cultures as equal. Let's just be real here, right? sure, we are the only country left in the world with free speech that is currently under assault and has been for the last couple of years by in ever increasing degrees. But we are still the only one who has it, and that's exceptional. And yes, that is better than other countries in the world. So there you go. Says, well, to be honest, America figured out how screwed Britain law is. Says, Danger says, well, to be honest, America figured out how screwed British law is, but yet here we are. We once again face tyranny. Yeah, exactly. We are. Islander said, how do you feel about Owen Benjamin? So I've followed Owen for a long time. And, a lot of people feel like when you listen to Owen and just clips of him, or you just Google his name, you're going to think, man, what a racist pig asshole that guy is. When you watch Owen Benjamin, you understand that he just doesn't care about being politically correct. He's not a racist. He's not a misogynist. He's not any of these things. But he's just, he is as unpolitically correct as anybody could be. And for that, I really like Owen. I really like some of the stuff he says sometimes, like, whoa, and you pull that back a little bit. But again, that's probably my fear talking. I don't think Owen's right on all of his ideas or his theories or his, maybe rants sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, you probably could have said that better. That's like, man, you're just trying to be, inflammatory. But all in all, I like Owen. I do. And I like listening to him. I'm subscribed to him, and I'll listen to him and watch his shows. And I think it's pretty crazy what's happened to him. But yeah, that's kind of what I think about him. But yeah, Tommy Robinson, this whole thing is really insane. And it is something that it just kind of blows my mind. Blows my mind that we're even having this conversation. He should have been, without a doubt, he should have not only been found guilty, he should have a lawsuit against the UK for what they did to him for those, when he was put in prison for the first time. But, I don't know. I think that's, I don't know. What do you think about Owen Benjamin, Islander? Are you a bear? Are you an island bear? Are you an islander bear? Where are you at on that whole train? I had another thing here I might pull up. I'm going to look here because I didn't have a lot to talk about tonight, so we might do a couple cold reads. But just on some stuff. We don't have a lot of people. Speaking of Owen Benjamin, though, it's funny here. I did pull this article up. Speaking of Owen, this is something that I'm 100% on with Owen, and this will probably get me in trouble. So, because the algorithms and whatnot, we're not allowed to talk out against this at all. But it says moon landings. What was the 1969 Apollo 11 mission? What was the 1969 Apollo mission? Well, what it was is a well-choreographed Laurel Canyon psyop. That's what it was. Just so we know, just to put that out there. Probably get me in trouble. Could get my whole thing shut down. It's nearly 50 years since the U.S. became the first country to land on the moon. It's been nearly 50 years since the U.S. became... Actually, let me read this. Let me read this how I think. I'm going to insert. There's going to be some insertation. Insertation is not a word, by the way. That is a word that I just made up. So, but you can use it. Anybody is allowed to use that word insertation if you want to. In any way you feel like you need to. It's nearly 50 years since the U.S. became the first country to fool people that we landed men on the moon. The Apollo 11 mission was a huge moment in psyop history in the Apollo 11 mission was a huge moment in the U.S. world psyop history. But what exactly happened and why does it matter? Well, what happened is we had to shut the Russians down because the Russians were kicking our ass in the space race, right? And we needed to get the momentum back on our side and fool everybody into believing that we were way, way, way far ahead of them and that they needed to slow their roll and to fear us because, you know what? We can go to the moon. So think about the technology we have. Why did we want to go to the moon? Well, that's why we wanted to go to the moon. A space race developed between the U.S. and the then Soviet Union. which the Soviet Union was beating our ass in that race, after the 1957 launch of the first Soviet Sputnik satellite. When John F. Kennedy became U.S. president in 1961, many Americans believed they were losing the race for the technological superiority of the Cold War enemy, which we were. It was in that year that the Soviet Union made their first ever manned spaceflight, allegedly. The U.S. was determined to get a manned mission there first, and in 1962, Kennedy made a now famous speech announcing, "We choose to pretend to go to the moon." The space race continued, and in 1965, the Soviets successfully guided an unmanned craft to touch down on the moon. No, they didn't. How did the U.S. plan for its mission? The U.S. Space Agency, NASA, that's so funny. In 1965, they say that Russia guided an unmanned craft to touch down on the moon. Yet in 2019, the latter part of the 20th, the 2000s here, all the major nations in the world, countries in the world, have struggled to send even an unmanned. Israel just bounced one off the face, right? They didn't even land theirs. China allegedly landed one up there, barely, finally, and I think they might have had a faux pas on one of theirs too when they tried to do it. And Russia, I don't know about that. They say they have too, but I don't doubt that now we could send an unmanned one there, right? I think that's plausible. But we see even recently that there's been struggle to land an unmanned one. But you're going to try to convince me that in 1965, with the technology of a toaster and a big-ass toaster on that we landed somebody on the moon? Really? You're going to tell me that? And you want me to believe that? Really? That's a tough one. That's just a tough one for common sense. What happened to common sense on this whole moon stuff? Huh? We just sip the Kool-Aid and believe it. But what happened to the common sense of this? What happened to the common sense of thinking about our technology back then and thinking that we could do this? This is one of the things, that many people who point out the idiocracy of some of this stuff talk about. They're like, how we streamed a moon landing. We had the technology to stream the videotape of landing on the moon, and I guess this could be, I haven't looked into enough. There's probably enough non-debunkers out there that would say, exactly right, Tyler. It says that springs that shoot the toast up when it finishes also propel people to the moon. That's probably what it was. Like space, like space springs or something. Like, special, really, I don't know. Anyway, lost my train of thought. The streaming. We have a hard time today sometimes getting a clear stream. Right? Now we do. We get good HD streams and so on and so forth. But I don't know how many times my internet goes funky and, I get glitchy streams. Think about back in when we first went into Iraq, right? The first Bush went into Iraq. They had a hard time streaming just around the world, right? The live stuff, the video was grainy and glitchy and terrible, right? We could barely even stream that in a clear picture. But back in 1969, we could stream 230-some thousand miles one way from the moon to NASA, right? We could do that. Sorry, something went off in my headphones. I was looking around thinking that something was sneaking up on me. We could stream that almost glitch with that perfect clear video, just such clear video. But then again, don't forget this one. Don't forget this. All the video that everybody around the world watched when we landed on the moon was not the live stream from the moon, like not the actual tapped in live stream from the moon. That didn't happen. It was a videotape taping the monitor. So it was somebody in there with the videotape taping the monitor that was getting the live feed from the moon of the guys walking around. That's the video everybody watched. Nobody has ever seen and has ever watched the original footage, except I guess for the people that were in the control center, right? They were allegedly watching it. But nobody ever did watch it. And then just happenstance, right? Along with all the telemetry data and all the information that we gathered when we were there, all of that information, all the biometrical data that we had on the astronauts, and then all of the original tapes all disappeared until just recently, right before we're going to celebrate the 50th year anniversary and landing on the moon. All of a sudden, there was a news article a couple weeks ago about how some lucky schmuck had the original videos of landing on the moon. He got them because there was some sort of auction at NASA where they auctioned off accidentally the original footage of the moon landing. They accidentally back in the day, and that's why it all disappeared. They just were, oh, it's gone. We don't know what's happened to it. And then these tapes just magically now have reappeared, and someone's going to auction. They bought them for $200 back in the day, and they're worth millions of dollars now. This is a story that you hear now. It's such bullshit. It's funny. It's just kind of funny. Common sense is your best friend when it comes to thinking about the moon landing, right? All these debunkers out there that have sipped on all the Kool-Aid and have the cognitive dissonance that is just reverberating in their head without any kind of restraint. Those are the people that want to debunk all these things and prove how we did it, and every single one of their arguments is equally like the opposite argument to that is common sense makes more common sense and is as powerful as their so-called evidence that we landed. We didn't land on the moon. That's a joke. The U.S. Space Agency, NASA, committed huge amounts of resources to what became known as the Apollo program. About 400,000 people, now you notice how they say that, 400,000 people worked on the 17 Apollo missions to a cost of $25 billion. One of the reasons why they throw the 400,000 people in there is because that's one of the ways they debunk that this could not be fake. This is one of the things that people say, there's no way this could be fake because 400,000 people worked on the project. Okay, so, and your point is what? That these 400,000 people couldn't keep a secret. Well, do you really think 400,000 people had to be in on the secret? Or do you think just a core group had to be in on the secret? I don't know. I'm just throwing a number out there. 10, 20 people maybe 30 people. I don't know. A very limited amount of the people who were overseeing this program, whose the brainchild was to pull off one of the biggest psych ops in the world history, that's what they would have done. I don't have any doubt they built a rocket. I don't have any doubt they built a rocket that they went out into orbit, right? I have no doubt about that. But then once that thing's out in orbit, nobody can see it then. Now we're just relying on the video that allegedly is being shot back to us. And now the astronauts would have had to been in on it, the ones that said they walked. And then if you follow up on all the astronauts that said they were there, you find out that there was a lot of real suspicious stuff on why they never would do interviews and why they would get so angry if it was ever brought up and how they would never really talk about it. And how it was always in very much, kept under wraps. The 3 astronauts were chosen for the Apollo mission was Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, and Michael Collins. A powerful rocket, the Saturn V, carried the Apollo command and service module and the attached lunar module that was to touch down on the moon. And think about this. Except for the Tom Hanks one, Apollo 13, I think it was 13, wasn't it? Or was it Apollo 12? Apollo 13? 12? I don't know. Whichever one Tom Hanks was in. That was the only one, right, that failed to land on the moon because they had a problem and then they had to use duct tape and they had to use stuff and make, duct tape stuff up for oxygen and whatnot. And the crew was working back on Earth of how to get them home and doing all the whatever. And they got them here, luckily. They got them back. But other than that, every single one of those things went off without a hitch. Every single one in the late 1960s went off without a hitch. We took a dune buggy to the moon. And there's this Apollo, there's this the landing module that shows how it was on the side and all that. Well, that's not originally how they said. They said that it was actually all folded up. It was all folded up, but it was more in the, I think, underneath or I'll have to read again. It's in one of those articles by David McGowan where they stuffed it. But they stuffed this dune buggy that was all foldable back in 1960s. There was just like, meh, 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 meh. And they stuck that thing when they had a serious problem with moon dust. That's another thing that we talk about now. I'm totally going into a trail I didn't mean to. The moon dust, they say, is one of the reasons why we can't go back right now, because it's so corrosive. You barely get any of that moon dust on you. It destroys electronics. It destroys everything. Yet they could just put that on the side of it and blow that dust everywhere and get in and out of the module for the days they were there. No problem whatsoever. They could just, and then you go into the bathroom and all that for days on end up there. That was no problem. All these things, you got to think, you're going, wow, that was a lot of stuff they did perfectly right. Never been able to really practice it, especially the first time, and they pulled it off without a hitch. We are amazing. Oh, Apollo and 50 numbers, the technology. Apollo and 50 numbers, the worker. Apollo and 50 numbers, medicine and health. Wonder what these are. Let's take a look. Microcomputer fitted to the lunar module, and by micro they mean it wasn't that micro. To the mighty IBM mainframes with their flashing lights and banks of magnetic tape. To navigate the Apollo spacecraft the 250,000 or so miles to the moon and then descend to a precise spot on the surface, astronauts use the Apollo guidance computer. Unbelievable. Will people believe this? Housed in a box around the size of a small suitcase with a separate display and input panel fitted to the main spacecraft console, it was a masterpiece of miniaturization. Developed by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, the AIG was filled with thousands of integrated circuits or silicon chips. NASA ordered the new technology led to the rapid expansion of Silicon Valley and accelerated the development of computers today's computers. Although the 75 kilobits, it wasn't even 1 megabit, right? 1,000 kilobits is 1 megabit. 1,000 megabits is 1,000 megs is 1 gig. So they didn't even have, back in the day when you had 16 megabytes of RAM, think about that. Now we have 16 gigabytes of RAM. So we have 16,000, 1,000 is 1 gig. Yeah, so 16,000 megabytes in our phone. Let me make sure I'm doing that right. 1,000 megabytes is 1 gigabyte. 1,000 kilobytes is 1 megabyte. I think I'm saying that right. Okay, yeah. So 1,000 kilobytes equals 1 megabyte. Think about that for just 1 second, if you will, for me right now. 1,000 kilobytes equal 1 megabyte. 1,000 megabytes equal 1 gigabyte. My phone carries 32,000, I think it's 32 gigabyte. I have 32,000 megabytes, right, in my phone. I don't even know what that translates into kilobytes, because that's a lot of math for my brain to do right now. The point is, although 75 kilobytes of ROM and 4 kilobytes of RAM, 4 kilobytes of RAM. Think about that. Think about your computer when you were back in the late 1990s and you were like, man, I just upgraded my computer. I got like 8 megabytes. I got 8 megabytes of RAM. Whoa, 8 megabytes. Now you have 4 kilobytes. So again, 1,000 kilobytes equal 1 megabyte. They sent somebody to the moon on 4 kilobytes of RAM. Sounds puny today. The equivalent of 1980s home computers such as the Sinclair ZX Spectrum or the Commodore 64. It was an impressive machine. Designed for the rigors of space flight, its software was hardwired into coils, and crucially, it was set up so it wouldn't crash or couldn't crash. Meanwhile, on the ground, the Manned Spacecraft Center in the Houston NASA bought 5 of the latest IBM 360 computers to analyze in real time every aspect of the spacecraft's speed, trajectory, and health. The system included provisions for the standby computer in case one of them failed at a crucial moment. Despite the vast computing power behind Apollo, some technology would have been familiar to 19th century explorers. In the days before pocket calculators, astronauts made simple calculations using slide rulers and the aid navigation. They took sightings of the stars with sextants. I can't even read any more of that. That's so silly. Let's go. Let's keep reading here. Look at that beautiful. Look at that beauty, man. That beauty of tinfoil wonder landed on the moon. That there with that tinfoil looking like it's a HVAC sheet metal, that landed on the moon. Okay. But disaster struck during pre-flight routine checks when fire swept through the command module and killed 3 astronauts. Probably 3 astronauts that maybe were starting to understand, I think there's something funny with this. Probably 3 astronauts that weren't, getting on board with the program. That started realizing there's no way we're really going to the moon. This can't be real. They probably killed them. Manned space flights were suspended for months. During the Apollo 11 mission itself, there was communication issues with ground control, and an alarm message sounded on the computer which the crew had never heard before. The lunar module also ended up touching down away from the original target area. Walking on the moon. Despite these problems, on July 20th, nearly 110 hours after leaving Earth, Neil Armstrong became the first person to step on the surface of the moon. He was followed 20 minutes later by Buzz Aldrin. Armstrong's words beamed to the world by TV, entered history. That's one small step for man. That's one giant leap for mankind. Similar to that. 2 men spent more than 2 hours outside the lunar module collecting samples from the surface, taking pictures, and setting up a number of scientific experiments in their studio in Laurel Canyon. After completing their moon exploration, the 2 men successfully docked with the command and the service module. Pretend module. The return journey to Earth began and the crew splashed down in the Pacific Ocean after they'd been orbiting the Earth for several days, pretending like they were on the moon. An estimated 650 million people worldwide had watched the first moon landing. For the U.S., the achievement helped it demonstrate its power to the world audience. Exactly why we did it. Exactly why. That's the first truthful thing it said. For the U.S., the achievement helped to demonstrate its power to the world. The achievement of pulling off this hoax, what it did was, people say, why would we do it? It helped to demonstrate its power to the world audience. Its pseudo power to the world audience. That's why we did it. That's it. It was to let everybody know, slow your roll, we're the baddest, we're way ahead of you, don't screw with us. Meanwhile, in the back scenes, we're trying to catch up and we are trying to get where we need to be. We just fake it till you make it. That's what we were doing. It was also an important boost to national self-esteem, right? We needed that too back then, right? We had the Vietnam War that was wearing down on us, man. We were going through doing this whole thing there, losing men's lives. We needed a good distraction. We needed a good hoorah to get the people all pulled together. That's another exact reason why we did it. So that's another truthful thing they're saying. At the end of a tumultuous decade, right? It had seen Kennedy assassinated, race riots in major cities, and uneasy about its military involvement in Vietnam. All of that's true. That's another reason why we did it. It was a multi-purpose psych op for a lot of reasons. Let's let Russia and China know, Russia at the time really, we've beat you. We're way ahead of you. You have no ability to catch up. We've beat you. They figured it out soon enough, but we've beat you. We wanted to get everybody hoorahing again for America and give everybody that special happy feeling inside, which I'm not terribly against. I am. I mean, for lying to us about that, but I can understand why they would do it. I can understand their mindset in doing it. How do we know it really happened? Here we go. How do we know it really happened? A total of 6 U.S. missions had landed men on the lunar surface by the end of 1972. That's how we know we did it. That still doesn't tell me how we did it. That's how you tell me we did it. And that's amazing in and of itself. Again, that we landed 6 missions on the moon without any hiccups, except for the Tom Hanks one. Yet to this day, there are conspiracy theories saying the landings were staged. Here we go. Demonization of the conspiracy theorists. Right? That's a good point. You know, who put the cameras on the moon's surface for that incredible very first real step onto the moon? Right? That's a good point. There's probably a lot of people that could try to easily debunk that. Well, I just put one out, or it was a camera that was poking out on the lunar module leg or whatever. No. But I love how they highlight this too. Conspiracy theorists. We have to damn and demean the conspiracy theorists that would dare say this didn't happen. But NASA has had reconnaissance craft orbiting the moon since 2009. Where are the really good pictures? It sends back high resolution. Oh, it does? Really? Show me. The high resolution. It sends back high-resolution image showing signs of exploration on the surface of the Apollo mission, such as footprints and wheel tracks. Let's look at those, okay? Because it links to this because, and so this will prove it, guys. This is going to be my proof, and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to take everything back. Wait, that is the high-resolution pictures? So we have satellites that can pick up a dime from space. They could like zoom down and get the head of a dime on the surface of the Earth. Maybe not quite a dime, but you mean what I know. Hell, Google right now, we can zoom down and see our backyards pretty damn clearly, right? If someone's standing there, you can see them pointing up going, hey, how you doing? Like you can, and they do. They have satellites, intelligent satellites that can zoom in and get the face of somebody from space, right? They can get the face of somebody from space. Think about that. But we have a lunar, whatever it is, a lunar reconnaissance orbiter, the LRO, orbiting the moon without any atmosphere, without anything to really, I mean, it seems like we would be able to get a crystal clear look at the face of the moon, right? And this is the pictures they give us. I could make these pictures with my tiny insy bincy bit of knowledge about photo editing on my DaVinci Resolve. I could do this. I could make this. This is the proof we landed right here. These little squiggly lines, and these arrows that point to say astronaut footprint or footpath right here. This is where they were walking. Can you not see that? And the LSEP equipment. Can you not see that white little dot on the moon's surface? That proves we went. Can you not see the Challenger descent stage right here? I mean, that's clearly a high-resolution photo of the Challenger descent stage, right? And that's clearly a flag of the high-resolution photos. And these are clearly the moon buggy tracks. Look at these moon buggy tracks. And look at here. This is the final parking spot of the LRV. Whatever it is, the moon buggy, right? This is where there it is right there. That black spot, duh. That's a high resolution photo, man. How can anybody doubt this? Please. This is silly. This is our proof right here. You guys are you conspiracy theorists are just dumb thinking we didn't go. Look at these. I mean, come on. Intrepid descent stage, duh. Astronaut footpath, again, LSAP equipment. Come on. Surveyor spacecraft, right there. You can see it. It's clear as day. Right? People, come on. Look at, we'll zoom in on it even for you. Andros, 3 times, Andros descent stage, right there, 3 times enlarged. Okay? No, that is not a unmanned piece of equipment we sent up there, right? Or that's not just some photoshopped piece of, Photoshop. That's not that. It would be so hard to fake that. I hope you can pick up the sarcasm I have in my voice when I say this because I'm laying it on pretty damn thick. So there it is, guys. But NASA has had reconnaissance craft orbiting the moon since 2009. It sends back high-resolution images showing signs of exploration on the surface by the Apollo mission, such as footprints and wheel tracks. You didn't see one footprint in there. You saw what they told us were foot tracks. And again, you have it orbiting the moon, but you can't get a clearer resolution picture on that. We can't pick up a serial number or a model or hell, just the side of it that looks like it is what it is. The dune buggy would do it for me. If you can get a clear picture of the dune buggy, let me know. There's also geographical evidence from rocks brought back from the surface. Oh, interesting point on this. I love this, man, how they say conspiracy theorists are such retards on this, right? I think I only have you in here now, Gator. I've lost everybody with my moon ramblings. I don't care. It's so we have rocks we brought back. Well, do you realize that Antarctica actually has the most asteroid strikes as in any other place on the Earth? And did you also know that some of the scientists and some of the astronauts prior to our trip to the moon took an unexpected trip to Antarctica. Did you know that? Did you know we gave a fake moon that was a fake moon rock that was proven fake to Switzerland or Denmark or some country over there because they were saying we were full of shit and we didn't go. And so we gave them a moon. We gave them a moon rock that they later had tested and realized wasn't a moon rock. Did you realize that? So we don't. And now all these moon rocks, there's hardly in existence anymore. You can't even really find them. There was only a handful of them we had in the beginning anyways, and now a bunch of them have been given out, and some of them have been lost, and other ones have been proven fake that we said were moon rocks, and then they turned out we realized they weren't moon rocks. So yeah, there's another good piece of information. So I guess I believe you now. What's the point of going to the moon? The U.S. remains the only country to have put people on the moon's surface. No. Who claim we have. However, Russia, Japan, China, the European Space Agency, and India have either sent probes to the moon, or landed vehicles on the surface. Not without some serious hiccups and problems. And nobody's saying we can't land an unmanned, piece of equipment on the moon. That would be much easier. Still hard because, as we can see, many states have failed at it and countries have failed at it. But doable, right? You don't have to deal with the radiation and all that other stuff. It's just a piece of machinery, so you can do it. People have not. For a country to be able to do so is a sign of a technological prowess, giving it membership of an elite club. There are also more practical reasons, such as the desire to exploit its resources. Well, okay. What resources? They say there's maybe some water up there or something, or it has some other things. That's maybe true, but ice found on both poles make it easier for crafts to reach deeper into space, as it contains hydrogen and oxygen, which can be used to fuel rockets. There's also interest in mining the moon for gold, platinum, and rare earth minerals, although it is not clear how easy it would be to extract such resources. Yeah, it'd be kind of hard to get any amount of real gold blasting because gold's pretty damn heavy, and to blast that stuff back up and get it down here. It's all a bunch of smoke and mirrors. It's all a bunch of hoorah-rah distraction BS. We didn't go. I'm convinced of it. Totally convinced of it. Are you still with me there, Gator? I know. I did start off talking about Robinson. That's the thing. I did. So yeah, I just went into the moon stuff and it took longer than normal. So yeah, I did type that in though. You're right. But maybe we should just ask before we go. Maybe we should ask before we go the Wheel of Truth about the moon. Let's just see what it says. It's either too late for me. Oh yeah, so here we go. So did we go to the moon? Is this true? Did we go to the moon, Wheel? Let us know, Wheel. Spin the wheel. Okay. Wheel didn't want to spin. Where you at, Wheel? Let's try that again. Huh. The wheel's busted. That's interesting. Did I not, do I have the wheel hidden by chance? Nope. Should be there. Wheel's busted. Maybe I lost my widget for the wheel. It would have came up with utter bullshit, I'm pretty sure. We can try it one more time. Oh, there it is. Did we go to the moon? More information is needed. A lot more. Like a lot more information about the moon is needed to go to the moon, is what the wheel meant by that. We'll try it again. Total, utter bullshit. I couldn't agree more with you, Wheel. And on that note, I'm probably going to have to go to sleep now, even though you're still here, Gate. But you should probably go to bed too, Gator, because it's even later for you. And you need to start getting some health and stuff and whatnot. Who else is in here? We got 2 people watching, but I was down to 1. Gator's in here. Who's else? If you're not Gator, chime in, because I can see you're here. I'd just like to know who else is here. Maybe I don't want to know. If you know I don't want to know, then don't tell me. Just kidding. Who else is here? Tyler, you still in? It doesn't really matter. Either way. Because I got to go anyways. Buffering is super bad. Oh, really? That sucks. Let me look up here. My stream's good. Yours is buffering really bad, dude. Mine's pretty good. Anyway, I have been now going for, I should know this. Buffering super bad. Yeah, it's not my fault, dude. You are on a bad connection because it says for me I'm good. Anyway, guys, I have got to get to sleep because I have got to go to work tomorrow because that is just how I roll. I actually got to go to work. But anyways, I appreciate you guys hanging out. I just wanted to jump on and do a quick stream, and it, I say quick stream, just a kind of impromptu stream. I wanted to talk mostly about Tommy Robinson because that is just some crazy bullshit going on with him. But hey, until next time, without fear or without animus. Oh, you were 30 seconds behind. I don't know how far you are behind now. But without fear or animus, it's SAG perspective. Gator, you have a good night. Islander, you have a good night. Dragon Freedom, you have a good night. Dangerous Freedom, rather. And Tyler Labine, you have a good night. And I will talk to you guys soon. Please don't forget to subscribe and share and like the video. And we will talk to you when I see you next. All right, guys. Later. Bye.